No, you haven't been stood up. Right. This evening's video is just a diary entry for me. So I'm not going to be talking about today's housing market or the budget. I'm going to be talking about the plan I'm working on to fix the housing market, what I'm doing in a hotel room in Manchester, why I'm here, what's happening tomorrow, and how it fits into the whole overall scheme of things that I'm trying to work on to fix the housing market. So this is not going to be an entertaining video. It's going to be a point of reference for anyone who's new to my content and the mission that I'm working on, especially the 50 or so agents I'm meeting in the next 3 days who want to understand the background and context to everything I'm going to be talking about. And for anyone else who's interested in actually knowing how the housing market gets fixed. First of all, cheers everyone. Let me begin by saying this. The process for moving home is broken. It's painful, it's much too long, it's much too risky, it's expensive, it's full of uncertainty, and it's such a terrible experience for most people that actually just the thought of having to go through that experience is enough to put a lot of people off from moving. So what do I mean when I say the process isn't broken? Well, for the last 9 months, I've been working with Carrington's estate agents in South West London in Kingston. And we have proved beyond any reasonable doubt now that if you do it right, the process works fine. Okay. Every single house they've listed has gone under offer within about 25 to 28 days on average. All of them, no exceptions. They've got one flat that's got problems with its lease that's got to be fixed before it can be properly sold. But other than that, all the houses sold under offer, multiple offers within sometimes under 3 weeks, usually 3 to 4 weeks, because multiple offers takes a while to actually go around everybody until they get to the final offers. And then they're going on to exchange in as little as 3 weeks, some of them, typically more like 7 weeks, but overall, half the time. So by following what I'm calling the best agent process, and they are following it, there have been so far 0 fall throughs, and everything has sold in much less than half the average time it normally takes. So the experience for everyone involved by agent is transformational. We haven't had to change the law. We haven't had to make mandatory qualifications. We haven't had to even change the process. We've just got to do it properly. Right. Okay. Well, if it's that easy, Charlie, then why doesn't everyone do it? That's a very good question. That's a very good question. In fact, that's the question I've been asking myself for a very long time. I'm going to stop being distracted by the chats. The reason it doesn't work, and the reason it takes so long for most people, is because you have the following list of participants in every house move, all of whom are either underprepared or pulling in the wrong direction or behaving disingenuously, or all of the above. Seller. Most sellers don't accept that the market decides what they can sell their house for and think that what they think it's worth is what they're going to get for it, and therefore pick an agent based on whoever gives them the highest valuation, and therefore come to the market not ready to sell, not with the head in the right place, wasting everyone's time, slowing the market down. Most sellers. That's why there's so much unsold property on the market. Okay. And some of them, most sellers are guilty of the same thing as most drivers are, which most drivers think they're better than average, which by definition isn't possible, is it? And most sellers think that they're not the ones being unrealistic, but actually most sellers are being unrealistic. So sellers. Buyers. Buyers are coming underprepared. Buyers are being unrealistic. Buyers are not getting their stuff sorted out to have a smooth transaction. Many buyers, and also buyers are coming in many ways fearful of the process, why they're going to be ripped off, and then they have good reason for that too. Agents, I mean, don't even get me started with most agents. But the reason that my company and my platform and this whole project is called Best Agent is because actually, in this long list of people, it is the agent that's the key to solving this problem, as I have proved with Carringtons. We'll come back to agents in a minute. We've got house builders and developers, those are really involved in new builds, not relevant to this conversation. We've got the portals, we've got the Rightmove, the Zooplas, the On the Markets, and the Best Agent portal. We've then got prop tech suppliers. So this burgeoning subculture of tech in the property industry that is feeding agents what they think agents want and what agents think that they want. But actually, what most of them are doing is feeding the problem that makes the whole market worse. Not all of them. There are some very good notable exceptions, but generally speaking, lead gen, prop tech, get more market share, get automatic leads, guaranteed lead generation, just pay here. It's honestly, so prop tech. You've then got mortgage brokers, and you've got mortgage lenders, and you've got conveyancers, and you've got surveyors, and you've got our friends, the government. All of whom, most transactions involve nearly all of the people in that list. And all the people in that list think that they know how to fix the housing market, but they are only seeing it from their perspective, and they're all missing stuff. And out of that list, it just happens to be that the agent who's listing properties is the one that's most central to the entire transaction. They're the only one that's central, right? They're talking to the seller and to the buyer and to the seller solicitor and to the buyer solicitor and to the mortgage lender or the broker and to the surveyor. The agent is the one, the selling agent is the one that coordinates everything. And it's much more complicated than anyone realizes, which is why so many numpties go into agency thinking, well, it's easy to sell a house and it's easy money and they charge huge fees and it's going to be great. And that's why half of the industry is just shockingly bad. And that's the only tiny reason why I think actually mandatory exams to be an agent might be worthwhile, is just to stop the absolute jokers from getting in. But they're not actually the cause of the biggest problem. The biggest problem is the corporates and corporate culture and corporate policies, right? The Foxtons and the Connells of this world, who are major problems to the whole housing market, to the London market for Foxtons and to the national market for Connells. And this video is, I could go with each one of the people on that list, I could go into a long, detailed dive about what goes wrong with that particular sector. And you can argue about which ones are more or less important, but they're all required. You have to have a buyer and a seller and an agent and a conveyancer and another conveyancer and a broker and a surveyor and a lender. I mean, that's 8, and the government, of course, because they want their money as well. And there's all the money laundering stuff. So the government genuinely is actually a party to every single transaction. But none of them, except for the agent, is central to the whole thing. And that is why it is only agents, and especially not government, but no one else on that list. It's only agents who are truly positioned to fix the problem, as I've proved with Carringtons. Right. So how does this turn into my master plan to fix the whole housing market? Well, I've been building the Best Agent platform for 10 years now, since we very first started writing code. It actually went live in sort of early test with live customers way back in 2018 to bed it in. It was built from the start to be big enough to handle the whole country. So it's totally scalable. It's got very high levels of security, all that kind of stuff, handle lots of data. It's got millions of properties in it already. And it also is already connected up with Rightmove and Zoopla and On the Market. So it is an estate agency CRM platform as well, and it uploads the agents' properties to those portals And when those agents get inquiries from those portals, it automatically imports the buyer's details into their database. That's all built. That's all up and running and live and working. Still earlier stages of that, and there's still quite a lot of wrinkling to iron out. But so I've got the building blocks in place, right? And I've also got a moving audience on the Moving Home with Charlie channel. And I've been talking very loudly and very obnoxiously about the property market and what's right with it and what's wrong with it for a long time. And after 25 years of having estate agents as clients and having built 3 CRM software systems and a background in the city, I just got this bird's eye view of the whole thing. So now, what am I doing in Manchester? Having proved with Carrington's that the process isn't broken, it's just not being done. You can blame agents, you can blame conveyancers, you can blame sellers, you can blame buyers, and they're all in part responsible. That's true. But this is where good agents are worth their weight in gold, because a good agent will whip that whole crowd into shape and get the transaction done quickly. And it's a question of incentives, and that's what they're doing. That's what I'm teaching, is get the incentives right. And the sellers will behave, and the buyers will behave, and the transaction will happen quickly. And it's working. So I'm now talking to agents in Manchester tomorrow, in Bristol on Wednesday, and in London and Hammersmith on Thursday, because I'm hoping to roll out this project in other areas so that people will stop saying, oh, it's just a one-off, it's just one agent getting it right, doesn't prove anything. Well, okay, it does actually, but let's just deal with all of the other doubters and prove that it works in any market. Now, it doesn't work with any agent. This is really important. The biggest mistake most people make is thinking that estate agency is easy and selling a house is easy. It's truly not. Outside first responders and the medical services, there are few jobs more complicated and difficult than doing estate agency well, which is why so few people do it well and why it mostly happens very badly. So I'm looking for agents who are fundamentally already decent at the main processes, but are being, what's the word? They're being, the conduct of the big corporates doing the overvaluing is kind of tarnishing and tilting the playing field away from good agents in favor of the bad agents. And the good agents are missing out because sellers are being wrongly persuaded to go with the wrong agents. And so you've got good agents who are honest and transparent, who are good at their job, who can't do their job because sellers are being too easily seduced elsewhere. And when you try to be honest with the seller and say, no, we really are better than the others and we really do get better results, they go, oh, yeah, sure. And most sellers are just completely taken with overvaluing agents. And this process, as I've proved with Carrington's, solves that problem. And the first step of this process is not giving sellers a valuation. And that twists the brains of a lot of people. What do you mean no valuation? There's got to be a valuation. Why? Why is there going to be a valuation? There hasn't got to be a valuation. Valuation is completely irrelevant. A valuation is dangling a carrot to make a seller use the agent. And it's not even a valuation, it's a guess. And by setting an expectation on price, you've already contaminated the process before you even start it. And the results have been so compelling, they cannot be argued with. And I've now got dozens of agents who've been watching the progress of this on this YouTube channel, Best Agent, who want to find out more. And I'm hoping, here's the goal, that we end up with a scattering of agents around the country joining this program with Carrington's and me, achieving similar results, and therefore starting to eliminate the doubt and starting to show that valuations are pointless and that there's a different way to sell houses that works much faster and in everyone's interests. Everyone's interests, literally. Everyone, buyer, seller, agent. And you might think, oh, well, it's not in the seller's interest because the properties go for more money. Well, all that's happening is the properties are finding their true market. That's what's happening. So yeah, it's true that agents that sell houses like this don't sell bargains, because the bargains come when you've got a crap agent who's done a crap job of finding the market for it, and there's no inquiries, and they get one buyer that comes along and puts a lowball offer in, and the seller's just desperate to take it, so they take it. That doesn't happen with this. So yeah, but don't worry, there'll be plenty of agents doing that for a long time for people who still are bargain hunters. But I'm looking for agents that have actually spoke to one this morning about this. Someone that wanted to come, couldn't come, had a quick video call with him, and he said, any agent capable of independent thought will be all over this because it just makes so much sense. The logic is there, it makes so much sense. So when I've got more than just Carrington's proving that this process works, and when more and more people on the Moving Image Charlie channel see it, I mean, I've already got lots of you there saying, Charlie, we've been listening to you about your process, about how to, we're going out to agents saying, look, we want to do this different process that Charlie talked about on his channel. And these agents are going, sorry, we don't understand it, we can't do it. But I've literally had sellers going, we cannot find an agent that won't overprice the house. I mean, can you believe it? You've got like dream sellers who are going, we're realistic, we're committed to selling, we don't need to overprice it, we understand the market sets the price, we'd like to, and there are agents going, we don't understand that, no, can't do it. And it's because in the same way that the British public has been gaslit for 40 years about house prices only ever going up and everything's brilliant, and yay, it's great, estate agents too have been brainwashed and gaslit into thinking that house prices must go up, and you must also be positive all the time, and you must only ever say good things about the property market, and you must never admit that it's not a good market. You should never publicly admit that. But that's what I call toxic positivity, because it's baseless positivity and it leads to bad outcomes, and so it's pointless. What's the point of being positive if that positivity is baseless and leads to bad outcomes? An agent's job is to get someone moved, whatever the market is doing. Agents aren't responsible for the market. So, Best Agent's business model is generating seller leads for good qualified seller leads. In other words, realistic sellers who are committed to selling, who don't need a stupid valuation to be persuaded to sell, want to move anyway and want to work with a switched on agent. And the whole idea of the Best Agent site is to improve people's chances of finding those agents. So when I've got a scattering of these agents around the country who are delivering this process with the associated results that are good for them, good for their clients, good for me, good for Best Agent, we can then start to roll that out to more and more agents around the country. And movers who want to find those agents will know to come and find them via Best Agent, and we will have the data to back up that selling your house, coming to Best Agent, choosing your agent via Best Agent, and choosing an agent that uses the Best Agent process leads to much shorter sale times, guaranteed to get the best market price that the market will pay, and a very, very low fall through rate. In other words, a nice, reliable move where you're confident that you've got a really good price for your property when you're moving. And as soon as we've got enough, I mean, the land registry thinks that 8% is enough of a sample size to have a whole market worth of house prices. So I don't know what the tipping point is, but at some point, as we get more and more publicity going, hang on, this is working. And I've got contacts with journalists, major national newspaper journalists, who are waiting to write about this. But I don't want to shoot the bolt too soon. I want to make sure that it's actually really going to deliver the difference that people need. So by proving everyone's better off, including agents and sellers, in the end, eventually the public, the thinking members of the public will go, okay, well, there's no point in just listening to lying agents who lie about values to get our business, then lock us into a long solicitor contract. And it should start to just tip the other way and tip away from the overvaluing agents. And by the way, those big corporate agents that overvalue, they don't know another way to go about it. They will just keep on overvaluing. They will keep on overvaluing. And even though it starts to have ever diminishing returns for them, like it already has for Foxtons, who only sell less than 1 in 4 of the properties that they list in London, despite that disastrous figure, they continue overvaluing as the only way they know to get business. Why anyone instructs Foxtons in London is beyond me. Absolutely beyond me. I mean, they haven't done the research. So I haven't even talked about the fact that I'm also working with conveyancing firms who are going to be engaging with the Best Agent platform to make the whole onboarding process much smoother, much faster. Uh, ID checks, the existing legal identity checks you have to have done if you're moving house, anti-money laundering checks, all of it streamlined in, allowing agents to focus on the bit that agents have to do, which is a lot, and they have plenty to do already, stopping them being distracted by shiny prop tech distractions here and there that don't actually make any difference to them or their customers, allowing agents to deliver better results and service. And ultimately, that should start to put liquidity back into. I mean, we've then got to talk about housing prices. And if I can bring house price transparency to the market, which the government is refusing to do, they could, but they're not going to. But if we can bring house price transparency, and I have a plan to do that through the Best Agent public house price index, which is already built, it just hasn't had much data in it yet. Then we should have a regular routine cycle of the most reliable house price data in the country to undermine the bollocks that comes from most of the others, not all of them, but most of them, that would generate traffic to the site, that would generate seller leads for agents, that would generate buyers for the agents as well. The properties are already on there. See, I mean, that's been a car crash of a description of how this is going to work. But it's based in reality, it's based on 30 years in this industry. It's based on 25 years of working with agents and seeing what works and what doesn't. It's based on being the only person to have built and released 3 CRM systems to estate agents and seen the results. So I understand the dynamics of the industry. I would argue that there's no one else better with better a broader set of skills and experience, relevant experience to do this, number one. Number two, no one's even trying to do this. This is what blows my mind. Best Agent doesn't have a competitor. There is no other. I mean, all organizations say, yes, we're all trying to improve the housing market. I mean, Rightmove's been saying it for decades. Yes, we're committed to improving the housing market. Well, how's that gone, Rightmove? Your share price has gone up and up and up until the last 3 months, and it's come down 18%. But transaction times have got longer and longer and longer. Rightmove, congratulations. And to the estate agency industry, and tomorrow, on the same day that I'm meeting these agents in Manchester, there's a big event in London. Or it's a big annual estate agency conference event, and everyone goes down there and they all slap themselves on the back and pat themselves and congratulate them on what brilliant job they're all doing. And the organizers of that event are just corrupt. And I have personal experience of this. They used to organize estate agent of the year judge, and I was a judge, and I just saw it firsthand, the corruption behind it. And this is an organization that's really revered and respected, and agents are impressed with them, and they've delivered nothing. They keep on doubling down on the bad old ways, and the bar is so low that so that entire estate agency supplier sector is feeding the dinosaur that keeps the industry in the dark ages. There are some notable exceptions, but they are in the minority. Generally speaking, most of them add no value to the transaction, no value to the process. It's all about, we're going to get you more market share, we're going to get you higher fees. And it just doesn't work, most of it. And that's all got to go. And it's just, we've just got to focus on the transaction, building rapid, reliable transactions. And ultimately, that should eventually lead to better liquidity. In other words, more people moving house, more transactions happening in less time. That's liquidity. That's making it easier to move. And then eventually you get to social mobility improving. 24 minutes. I can't believe there's anyone watching this. This is not entertaining. Welcome to the North, Charlie, says Paul. Thank you very much. Ugh, ditch head. 100% truth needs major overhaul. How and where do you start? Well, I started about 25 years ago and I'm still going. And I'm getting there slowly. Yeah, it's not so Mike Denton, it isn't again, the process itself works, right? What I've done with Carrington's isn't changing anything fundamental. It's just doing it better with outstanding results. So this is why legislation doesn't fix the problem. Um, yeah, Saj says, I don't know why, but it seems that dishonesty and or disingenuity seem to be prerequisites to be an estate agent. It's not incompetence, but bad faith that's the problem. Yes, but I can tell you that you see just as much of that bad faith from buyers and from sellers. I'm now witnessing it firsthand. It's not it's humans that are the problem. And when you've got a pie this big with the perception of how much money's in this pie for government, from their taxes, from lenders, from mortgage brokers, from conveyancers, from agents, from prop tech suppliers, from portals. Everyone wants to dip their beak in this big vat of money that they think is a property market, and they're all basically pulling in their own direction rather than pulling together. Um, and the only way to fix it is what I'm doing, which is you take the party that is the most central and therefore influential to the whole transaction, which is the agent, and you straighten out the incentives for everyone concerned. And when you demonstrate to sellers, look at these results. We sell everything, goes on offer in 28 days, multiple offers, and goes on to exchange within 7 or 8 weeks. Well, guess what? Sellers won't, "Oh, I want that. Yes, I want that, please. Yeah, I'm happily getting paid 2.5% for that because no one else is going to get me moved that fast." So yeah, and the agents have got to be strong enough to deal with the everyday attempts by bad faith members of the public to derail transactions. And it's genuinely shocking. Some of the stuff that happens is absolutely shocking. And it never sees the light of day on social media because agents can't be seen to complain, because if they complain publicly, then the public just piles on because they're an estate agent. So estate agents don't actually get a fair, um, they don't get fair treatment. They deserve all the shit they get for the stuff that they do wrong, but there's an enormous amount of good they do, an enormous amount that they put up with that they never get any credit for. Yes, it is live. Um, yeah, E Gold says the only way these old school agents will learn is by example. Correct. That's why I'm trying to set the example. Okay, actions lax. If there's no valuation, what price does it go on the portals at? It goes on at the launch price, which has nothing to do with the valuation. The launch price has one job, and that is to create a market of proceedable buyers that want to view it at the same time. That is the only job of the launch price, right? But most sellers can't get their heads around that. Like, no, 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 no. I've got to have a high, because if I don't have a really high price, I might be leaving money on the table. I don't want to. So there's no valuation. There is a very, very carefully considered launch price. And no, it's not about just making it low. That can be a mistake, and you can get it wrong. It's got to be very precise, and it has nothing to do with what the property may or may not be worth. That's not the job of the launch price. And the method of calculating that launch price is a major part of what I'm teaching agents. How to get it right first time, every time. Um, Zach Choudhury, this is a very interesting point you make. What if agents could display average sales and turnaround time and volume rather than just how many properties they have live at the moment? They could list associated brokers and conveyancers, etc. That is literally exactly what the best agent process is doing with them. So what will happen, because transparency is at the core of the best agent process, right? And when they've got a year's result under their belt, Carringtons are going to be publishing a live dashboard of all of their performances, good and bad, good, bad, ugly, indifferent, the truth, like an airport departures board, every property, time on the market, time to under offer, time to all of it, transparent, live, real-time data published by the agent on their own website to demonstrate their overall results with total transparency. There's a lot of things we want to take care of. We want to protect people's privacy, that kind of stuff as well. But when it comes down to the broker conveyancers and surveyors they're using, that's all very much also part of this process as well. Where the trouble is that too many agents, too many of these partnerships between agents and brokers and conveyancers are all down to who pays the biggest commission, rather than who does the best job and gets the transaction done fastest, which has a much higher value than just a big referral commission. That's another problem that I'm solving with Best Agent. It's so nice that there's so many of you watching this one. I'm not even talking about the market here. Just talking about myself. Thank you, little Carol. Phil says, personally, my first buying experience has been terrible. Yeah, they mostly are terrible at the moment. The agents have covered for the developer all the way and been condescending the entire time. Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of you speaking from Sydney. I used to work in the Sydney real estate market. McGrath was one of my biggest clients ever. That's right, McGrath in Sydney. I used to live in never mind. Guys, I'm going to wrap it up. Thanks for watching. And if you're an agent watching this and you've been to one of the Best Agent events this week, thanks for coming. And I hope this helps give you some more background context to it. And in the meantime, if you haven't been there already and you're an agent, go to bestagent.co.uk and click on the agents link to find out more about us. And please, if you're an agent watching, follow Best Agent on all the social media platforms everywhere: TikTok, Instagram, X, LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, everywhere. Guys, have a good one. I've got a very early start tomorrow. Big day tomorrow. Thanks for watching, everyone. Agents and movers alike. I want to get you all to work together. I'll see you on the next one. Have a good one. Bye-bye.